They said the horse was dangerous. They said he was broken, beyond saving. After his old master passed away, he wouldn't let a soul come near him. He threw experienced horsemen to the ground. He smashed fences. He injured anyone who dared to touch him. The decision had been made. The following morning, he was to be put down. But that night, a 9-year-old boy quietly entered the barn, and he whispered a single word. What happened next made even the toughest men on that ranch weep. If you believe that even what seems lost can be restored, then this story is for you. Here at Moments That Matter, we tell stories of faith, hope, and new beginnings, and this might be one of the most moving tales you've ever heard. So, subscribe right now, because every week we bring a story that can touch your heart in unexpected ways. And stay with me until the very end, because the final scene with this horse will change the way you look at whatever feels broken in your own life. Take a deep breath, because it all began on a cold morning, after the ranch lost its most important man. The Walker Ranch had never been a quiet place. There was always the whistle of the wind against the fences, the creaking of old wood, and the rhythmic gallop of horses at dawn. But after old Mr. Walker passed away, the atmosphere shifted. It felt heavy, especially inside the barn. Inside stood Thunder, a black stallion, strong, imposing, and proud. He had been Mr. Walker's horse for nearly 15 years. They shared a connection that everyone on the ranch respected. A single look was all it took, and Thunder would obey. But now, that look was gone. On the morning of the funeral, Thunder let out a neigh so loud it echoed through the hills. He kicked the stable door. He knocked over his water bucket. He refused to eat. In the days that followed, no one could get close. When they tried to saddle him, he reared up on his hind legs and hurled the handler to the dirt. "He's gone wild," they said. But little Samuel, who watched everything in silence from the fence, didn't think it was wildness. He thought it was grief. The ranch hands gathered on the porch of the main house. Overdue bills, worried workers, a horse that was impossible to control. Thunder was becoming a liability. "If he hurts someone else, the responsibility is on us," said one of the foremen. Samuel listened, hidden behind the door. Then came the sentence that made his heart tighten. "Tomorrow morning, we're going to put him down." The boy felt as if he'd been punched in the stomach. He also knew what it was like to lose someone. His mother had died 2 years prior. Since then, he spoke little. He observed much. He felt everything. And when he looked at Thunder, he saw something familiar. It wasn't rage. It was pain that didn't know where to go. That night, while everyone slept, Samuel made a decision that would change the fate of that ranch forever. The moonlight illuminated the barn as Samuel slowly pushed the door open. The scent of hay and aged wood filled the air. Thunder was at the back of the stall, restless. His eyes caught the light in the shadows. Any adult would have kept their distance. But Samuel took a step. Then another. The horse stomped his hoof against the floor. Samuel stopped. He took a deep breath. He had no rope, no saddle, no strength. He only had a memory. He remembered old Mr. Walker speaking to Thunder every morning before mounting. It wasn't a common command. It was a soft word, almost like a prayer. Samuel closed his eyes. He took one more step, and whispered, "Calma, steady." The barn went silent. The horse raised his head. And for the first time since his master's death, Thunder did not retreat. He simply listened. Thunder didn't charge. He didn't pull back. He just stood there, breathing heavily, his eyes fixed on the boy. Samuel could feel his own heart thumping in his ears, but he didn't look away. He repeated, even softer, "Calma." The horse tilted his head slightly. It was almost imperceptible, but it was different. None of the men had managed to stand this close since the funeral. And there was this thin boy, standing just a few paces away from an animal everyone called dangerous. Samuel reached out his hand slowly, not to touch, just to show he was there. Thunder took a step forward. The sound of his hoof on the wood echoed through the barn. But there was no fury in that movement. There was hesitation, as if the horse were asking, "Did you lose someone too?" Samuel swallowed hard. "I know how it hurts." His voice cracked, and in that instant, something invisible happened. It wasn't magic. It wasn't immediate. But it was real. Thunder lowered his head. Just a little. Just enough for the boy to realize that, behind the strength and the rebellion, there was a wounded heart. The next morning, one of the workers saw something unbelievable. Samuel was sitting inside the stall, and Thunder was lying down, not fully relaxed, but not aggressive either. The man ran to tell the others. Within minutes, 3 adults were peering through the crack in the door. "This is impossible," one of them whispered. But Samuel wasn't trying to tame the horse. He was just talking. He told stories about his mother, about how he missed her on his birthdays, about how silence sometimes hurt more than words. Thunder listened. The boy then revealed a secret no one knew. Before passing away, Mr. Walker had told Samuel, "Horses don't need force. They need trust." And every morning before mounting, he would press his forehead against Thunder's and say, "I am here." Samuel stood up slowly. He pressed his small forehead against the horse's head, and whispered, "I am here." Thunder closed his eyes. Outside, the men fell silent. Something was shifting. Not everyone believed it. Some said it was just luck. Others said it was only a matter of time before the horse snapped again. So, they decided to test him. "If he's really different, put the saddle on him," the foreman said. Samuel felt a surge of fear. But he also felt something greater. Confidence. He entered the stall with the saddle in his hands. Thunder raised his head, alert. "Steady. I am here." Step by step, Samuel placed the blanket over the horse's back. No aggressive reaction. The saddle came next. The leather made a dull thud as it touched him. Thunder's body stiffened. Everyone held their breath. Samuel closed his eyes for a second and repeated, "I am here." The horse relaxed. It wasn't forced obedience. It was a choice. For the first time since his old master died, Thunder allowed someone to prepare him for a ride. And the men began to understand. Perhaps the problem had never been lack of discipline. Perhaps it was grief. Open Book Chapter 7, The First Step Together. The most difficult moment was yet to come. The mount. Samuel was inexperienced. He was too small for such an imposing horse. But Thunder lowered himself slightly, as if to make it easier. One of the men helped the boy up. The barn was in complete silence. If Thunder bolted, no one would be able to catch them. Samuel gripped the mane gently. "I am here." Thunder took the first step. Then another. Slow. Controlled. Without resistance. Without fear. It was as if 2 wounded hearts were learning to beat to the same rhythm. When they stepped out of the barn, the morning light illuminated them both. And for the first time in weeks, the Walker Ranch heard something other than silence. The sound of hope. The news spread quickly through the ranch. Thunder is different. But transformation isn't a straight line. On the 3rd morning of training, a loud noise from the fence startled the horse. A sharp crack of braking wood echoed across the field. Thunder reared up. Samuel nearly fell. The men came running. The old fear returned to the animal's eyes. His breathing quickened. His body went rigid. It was as if all the progress had been ripped away in seconds. "I knew this wouldn't last," someone muttered. But Samuel didn't climb down. With trembling legs, he leaned forward, pressing his chest against the horse's powerful neck. And even though he was afraid, he whispered, "I am here." It wasn't immediate. Thunder breathed as if he were fighting something invisible. as if memories were attacking him from the inside. Samuel closed his eyes. "You are not alone." The tension began to give way. Slowly, very slowly, Thunder lowered his hooves, and he stood still, not because he was forced, but because he chose to trust. In that moment, the men understood a truth that none of them had learned through brute force. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is staying, even when fear returns. That night, the foreman found Samuel sitting on the fence, looking at the sunset. "Why did you do it?" he asked. The boy took a long time to answer. "Because no one stayed when my mom got sick." The man swallowed hard. Samuel continued, "People were afraid to see her weak, so they left. And I think Thunder feels that too, like everyone gave up on him." The wind swept through the fields. "I just didn't want him to think he was abandoned." The foreman sat down beside him. Countrymen didn't talk much about feelings. But that day, something changed. "Sometimes, we try to fix things too fast," he said. "And we forget that some wounds just need time and presence." Samuel smiled faintly. In the stable, Thunder neighed softly. It wasn't a sound of revolt. It was a sound of recognition. Two wounded hearts had found each other, and they were teaching each other how to live again. A few weeks later, they organized a small demonstration at the ranch. It wasn't a competition. It was a testament. If Thunder had truly changed, everyone would see. The men lined up near the fence. Samuel mounted. No tension. No chains. No fear in his eyes. "Ready?" asked the foreman. Samuel stroked the horse's neck. "I am here." Thunder began to trot, then to gallop. The wind cut through the air. The black mane danced under the morning sun. But there was no lack of control. There was harmony. When they completed a full lap around the field, something unexpected happened. Thunder slowed down on his own, and he knelt slightly on his front legs, just as he used to do with his old master. Silence took over the ranch. Some men took off their hats. Others discreetly wiped their eyes. It wasn't just a horse running. It was living proof that what is broken can be restored. Thunder never needed someone stronger. He needed someone who would stay. Samuel didn't save the horse with strength. He saved him with presence. Perhaps you are feeling like Thunder, or perhaps like Samuel, wounded, silent, misunderstood. But here is the truth. What is broken is not lost. Sometimes, all it takes to heal is someone saying, "I am here." If this story touched your heart, subscribe now to Moments That Matter, because every week we tell stories that remind us that faith, courage, and love still exist. And comment below, have you ever needed someone to simply stay? I will read it. And perhaps, your story will be the next one.